Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name's GBay99. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. Today I'm back with another video where I want to take a bit of time to talk to you about an experience I had playing League of Legends while trying to record my last video. So while I was recording my last video, the Nunu video, I ran into this guy, Third Reich leader of the club tag Nazi in a ranked game. This was in a flex queue that was before the solo duo came out, so everyone was still playing flex, and I was playing Nunu in the jungle. He was our AD carry on Caitlyn. At first, I didn't really pay too much attention to his name or think it was all that unordinary. I mean, I played with a guy named Motherfucker a while ago. Riot turned off whatever it was that was preventing you from making usernames with bad words in it at some point, and I don't know if they re-enabled it, but I didn't think his name was all that unusual. I didn't really read the chat in Champion Select and thought this game would be anything that was all that bad. But then we got into game, and he gave me his opening line of this, at which point I promptly muted him and just tried to continue on with the game. I'm not too sure if me muting him set him off, or maybe something up in bot lane, or maybe he was just going to do this from the get-go, but this guy then began intentionally feeding. He was a troll in every sense of the word. You know, sometimes we call people trolls or say people are inting when they're just playing badly as a bit of an insult, saying that you die so much you have to be intentionally feeding when someone's just actually a really bad player, right? That happens to me all the time. But this was an instance where this guy was actually actively trying to make our team lose the game. He was intentionally feeding in every sense of the word, and he was actually a troll. So I got really upset at this. I got really frustrated. I was trying to record for my video and everything, and then I'm about to waste 20 to 30 minutes of my life, depending on how long the game goes, and I was just frustrated and decided to just jungle for the most part. I took a few dragons, mostly farmed the jungle. I was Nunu, so I could solo dragon pretty easily, but then we got to the 20-minute mark where I tried to surrender, and our team said no. At this point, I was fuming. I got so upset I swore that I would never make another Don't Surrender video ever again for the rest of my life. I got so infuriated. What is it about people these days? People just never surrender games anymore, but our team actually thought that we could win this, and to my surprise, they were right. The enemy had a Shaco top lane who was quote-unquote smurfing, but he was actually playing really badly, and for the most part, we were winning our lanes. Our mid was winning, our top was winning, our bot was intentionally feeding, but our support was really good in picking up some kills. But then, eventually, we were starting to turn the game around. It was at this point that we all had to unmute Caitlyn and beg her to at least, if she's going to intentionally feed in the team fights that we're having, so she can maybe soak up some damage or get some abilities off cooldown or something. Like, hopefully she could provide some sort of presence if she was intentionally feeding in the team fights, and she did join us, to her credit, for a couple of these team fights. She ended with a score of 1-19-2, so she got a kill and 2 assists in these fights, and started actually being a little bit of a presence in the game, and we ended up winning this. The enemy had plenty of opportunities to close, plenty of opportunities to just win the game, but they didn't, and we ended up pulling it back, where in the post-game lobby, the enemy was a little too busy flaming their own Shaco for throwing the game to bother reporting our Caitlyn. Now, I haven't really gotten intentionally trolled like this in a very long time. For the most part, League of Legends has gotten better about allowing players like this to play the game, and this was the first time I ran into one of these guys, but it reminded me of why I think League of Legends has this negative stereotype of being a game that people complain about, oh, there's so many feeders or so many bad toxic people in it. The thing about League of Legends that makes it feel so toxic isn't the fact that players like this exist and that you have to deal with them, but it's the fact that players like this exist and you have to work with them. In other team-oriented games, for the most part, if you have someone on your team that's really bad, or someone that's dying over and over, or someone that's just drunk and playing really badly or something, you don't have to pay that much attention to them. You just have to have the good players to make up for their mistakes. In any shooter, you can still get more kills than they have deaths and make up for their dragging your team down, and you can still carry and win a game pretty easily, not paying too much attention to them. But League of Legends takes the opposite approach, where every single player on the team has a very important role, and every single player is necessary to win the game. When I was at Riot's Roundtable, there was a moment when one of the Rioters said something that really stuck with me for the direction that they're trying to take League of Legends in the future. This didn't make the final cut of the video, not because it was anything they were trying to hide, but just because we were talking in circles for a huge portion of it, so they just cut out a lot of stuff that was repetitive. But one of the Rioters creators gave an example when they were talking about where they were trying to take the ranked experience in League of Legends in the future, where they said something along the lines of this. When we were designing the ranked queues and thinking about the ranked experience that we want our players to have, we had to ask ourselves a question: do you think that League of Legends is a better game when you have one player solo carrying 4 other people on his team, or do you think it's a better game when you see SKT winning Worlds? The obvious implication here that League of Legends is a much better game when it's different from all the other team-oriented games out there, where it isn't just about one player being super good and carrying, but when it's about every single person on the team coming together in their specializations and doing their best to win the game together. After they posed this question, Scar responded by saying, "This isn't something you're going to ever really be able to recreate in ranked. You can't have the level of teamwork and preparation that SKT puts into doing something like winning Worlds in a game where you just have 5 strangers pair up in solo queue or dynamic queue or whatever it is you're calling it. That's just not something that's ever really going to happen." But I think the message was clear. Riot really wants to have every single person on a team have equal amounts of responsibility when winning a game and have a team win, because they come together and work together to win a game, pulling out a win, rather than just having one person solo carry 4 plebs. The problem with this is this ends up giving more power to the worst players on the team rather than the better players, because you have to work with every single person on a team to win a game. That gives so much more power to the people that do stuff like this Caitlyn did, that intentionally troll, where you have to then beg these guys. You have to look up to them as if they're on the high ground, as if they're the person that you should be talking up to. You have to beg them, please, at least intentionally feed in these team fights that we're having so you can have some sort of impact. Please, at least give us 10 minutes of you trying so we can see if we can win this game. Just whatever it is that's setting you off, please. You have to beg and grovel at their feet as if they're the ones on the high ground. That's the frustrating thing that really grinds a player's gears in League of Legends when you run into a player like this. You have to make a choice. Am I going to just mute this guy, take a loss, and waste the 20 minutes plus load time plus champion select that I just spent waiting to get into this game? Do I just give that all a wash and then hopefully move on to the next game where I don't get this guy on my team again? Or do you try and reason with these guys that are intentionally feeding, these racist or anti-Semitic or whatever it is that they're saying in chat? Do you try and deal and reason with these awful, awful people? Normally when I make a video like this, I do so because I feel like I have something to add to the conversation or propose solution. But in this instance, that's not the case. This is all stuff that you guys already know, and I don't know if there's any real solution other than just banning these people and being super harsh with bans, or maybe bringing back the tribunal or something so you can have faith that other players out there will see this dickhead and ban them, give them their just desserts. To Riot's credit, I think this guy did get banned. He has not played another game on this account since this game that he intentionally fed, so I hope that's why. I hope he ended up getting banned. But at the end of the day, this is just so frustrating because it's not something you ever get used to. I've been playing League for 6+ years or whatever it is now, and this, anytime I run into a player like this, it feels like the very first time where you oh my god, it's so frustrating. It's hard to put it into words sometimes. You just never, ever, ever get used to it. It doesn't get any easier. This is why people say League of Legends is a toxic game, in my opinion. When you see people out there complaining about how they can't play League because it's so toxic, because there's so many toxic people, it's just such an unpleasant experience. I think this is why people say that. League of Legends isn't inherently more toxic than any other game out there, in the sense that I don't believe there's a greater percentage of racists or dickheads or whatever in League compared to other games. Like, there isn't anything in League's gameplay that just appeals to idiots and, you know, neo-Nazis more so than the average player. You don't have people from the alt-right picking up League and going, oh yeah, this fucking game, I love it, the fucking 80 carries and supports, all white champions, fucking Heil Hitler! No, that's obviously not the case. I wouldn't ever think that League of Legends has a greater percentage of people that are frustrating to deal with than the average game out there. The difference in League of Legends is the way the game is set up, it gives these people more power and more importance, so you have to deal with them for a longer period of time, and you really have to deal with them. You can't just mute them and hope they go away, because they're a key to your success. League just feels worse when someone ruins a game because of how much power that person has, and I think that's why so many people say League is just so damn toxic. I don't think there's anything that Riot can really do to solve this. If this is the direction they're going to take, then it's going to be the direction they take, and I think I'm just going to have to get over it and deal with these people. But It just feels so awful when you run into one of them. Awful enough that I have to go and waste a 10-minute video talking about this to all you guys that you already know how this feels, don't you? Anyway, I hope you guys all enjoyed watching today's video still. I'll see you all tomorrow, but until then, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.
It's not just that they are leftist and cucks. It's not just that many are genuinely stupid. Indeed, one wonders if these people are people at all.